Hey there, hockey fans. The Locked On NHL Network is back again for hockey season, and we have the 2023-24 season previews team by team coming up. And we are going to focus on the San Jose Sharks and what life will be like post Erik Karlsson. That's coming up on this preview episode on the Locked On NHL channel. Hey, what do you say, hockey fans? Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. But today I am here to just guide the ship as our host of Locked On Sharks, JD Young, brings us up to date on all things San Jose Sharks. So, first, JD, you and I, we talk a lot about the Pacific Division, but, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into your team here. So let's start with this. I think we kind of know, but what is the biggest storyline surrounding your team in this upcoming season?
I think it's going to be, is this the worst team in the NHL? And that's a very, very fair question, right? If you look at the roster, there is a lot more questions than answers on this roster. And as this team is going through its rebuild, right? And that's usually what happens when you go through rebuilds, is you're trying to kind of shift out the guys who are not going to be part of your future and look towards the future. And the Sharks are kind of in that process right now. Over the past 13 months, you've traded away Brent Burns, you've traded away Timo Meier, you've traded away Erik Karlsson, which I'm sure we'll talk about Erik Karlsson here in a second. But this team has its eye on the future, with a lot of their prospects kind of getting ready to start making an impact in the NHL. But it's still in that transition period of having a lot of kind of NHL caliber players on the roster as you wait for some of your younger guys to develop. And I think that is a recipe, with all the questions on the blue line, the questions in net with Capo Kakkonen and Mackenzie Blackwood. That is a recipe for this team to struggle to win games this season. And I fully embrace them being one of the worst teams in the NHL, and I'm excited for it.
I feel like you're giving me that Mamba mentality, but like the hockey edition, like we're leaning fully into the rebuild. I know you've talked about Mike Grier in the past, so it's just like, hey, this is where we're at. Like, let's attack it. I respect that. So the next question we have for you is, oh, look at this. What's your team's most significant off-season move and why?
I mean, it has to be trading Steven. No, it's Erik Karlsson getting traded, right? The former, the reigning Norris Trophy winner, coming off an historic 101-point season, getting traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins for 3 NHL players and a first-round pick. And on the outside, it looks like the Sharks didn't get much in return for Karlsson, right? I mean, the first round pick's nice, but getting Mike Hoffman, Mikael Granlund, and Jan Rutta, who are definitely on the back 9 of their careers, doesn't feel the most inspiring. But the big thing for my career is you get rid of a majority of Erik Karlsson's contract, that his $11.5 million contract over the next 4 seasons. The Sharks retain $1.5 million of that. So you're kind of trading away a very long, large contract for 3 ugly contracts that expire a lot quicker, and gives you much more flexibility in the future when your team is expected to start to kind of enter that fun, frisky phase of your rebuild. So, it's going to be interesting to see what the Sharks do without Erik Karlsson, because this blue line lacks any prolific offensive talent. And you and I have discussed many times about how defense is for nerds. This is you would love this team because there's all defense. If you like if you like guys who are stay-at-home defensemen, Erica, we might need to switch teams here, because this might be your cup of tea here. But I think, though, when it comes to the Sharks, though, with their rosters, yes, they're going to be ugly now, but what do you do with that space in the future when you can become more competitive, maybe be more aggressive in free agency? And then you have to start to pay some of your young guys.
I love that. Committing now so you can get to the fun and frisky phase. I love that. I'm stealing that. I'm hoping the Kraken get there sooner.
The Kraken have been
than
the
later.
fun and frisky. They already would.
I mean,
They turned
last
into
year
the
was
fun and frisky.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Can we stay fun and frisky though? I guess that's the real question. But this enough about the Kraken. This is all about the Sharks today. So who figures to be the most important player on your team this season, and what makes them so crucial to the Sharks' success?
The most important man in San Jose is William Eklund, the 7th overall pick in the 2021 draft class. So he is the first foundational piece, of the rebuild. And his development is the number one goal for the Sharks this season, outside of wins and losses. Is how does William Eklund develop? How can you put him in a position to succeed and make sure that he is given every opportunity to earn that, right? You don't just give people jobs. That's been my career thing, but put William Eklund in a position to be able to earn what we expect out of him. And I expect a top 6 potential, soon to be first line player out of William Eklund. And I think he's going to kind of start on the third line this season and work his way up. But it's all about William Eklund and making sure his development goes as planned. And you're not fostering, kind of a culture of just kind of doubt. And giving him an opportunity to kind of get through some of his rookie lumps and be a contributor on this team for years to come.
So that's interesting that you said Eklund there, because I also want to know, who do you think is the potential breakout candidate on the team that people should know about? Is it Eklund, or is there someone else in the mix?
There's someone else actually in the mix, and this one is might be a little bit of a surprise, but I'm going to go Alexander Barabanov. So Barabanov, the Sharks acquired a couple seasons ago from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And ever since coming to San Jose, all he's done is produce, right? His first full season with the Sharks, he had 39 points. Last year, he had 47 points. Again, this team has not been like the most prolific offensive team in the past couple seasons, but I think this is a season where Barabanov could kind of make a jump into a potentially 60-point player for the Sharks. Last year, you showed great chemistry with Logan Couture as the center, and now adding Anthony Duclair, who we know that guy can put the puck in the net. And I think with Barabanov's vision and his passing, he's gonna be able to find Duclair. And I think a lot of that passing is not going to go to waste that we've seen on the last couple seasons as they've been trying to find a third winger for that line. So Barabanov, who is going to be a big decision for Mike Grier whether to keep him, because he's going into the last year of his contract, and he could be a potential trade piece at the deadline, or he's still kind of in that range where you could sign him to maybe like a 3 or 4 year deal to keep him around as you're continuing to grow. So I think Barabanov, we're going to see a monster season out of Barabanov this year.
Oh, I like that pick, because what it sounds like is, one way or another, whether his fate with the Sharks is in play or not, that the future of his NHL career could definitely be hanging in the balance. That always makes for a pretty dangerous player. I like that. I dig it. All right, let's close out with this one. Bring us home with, what would a successful season look like for your team, and what's at stake if it's not achieved?
A successful Sharks season would be them securing a top 3 draft pick. Wins and losses, well, the losses matter this year. So I know there isn't your Connor Bedard in this draft class, but getting a top 3 blue chip talent is what the Sharks need to do, right? They had picked 4th last year in Will Smith, who Will Smith's going to be a great player and would be usually a top 2 or 3 pick in most drafts, but continue to add these blue chip pieces. That is how you build in the NHL. And you look at teams like the New Jersey Devils, who are now going to probably be contenders for a while because they have built through getting very high draft picks. And developing William Eklund and getting a top 3 pick, that is the key to success for this year.
I love it. Well, JD, it's always a pleasure to talk hockey and disagree about defense.
Defense is for nerds. Go score points.
Well, JD, always a pleasure to chat with you and disagree about defense. But thank you so much for joining us here for these season previews. And for more on the San Jose Sharks, be sure to follow Locked On Sharks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And be sure to check out all of the season previews. We've got all 32 teams covered across the Locked On NHL channel. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you your favorite team every single day.